Hi, I'm Sarah from The Upcoming. Such a pleasure to have you here with us in London. Huge congrats on this incredible film. For people who haven't seen it though yet, what can they expect going into G20?
They can expect to be on the edge of their seats from beginning to end and maybe scream a little bit through some of the action scenes. It's really just like a big ride.
And obviously slightly different from some of the films you've done before, Lemonade Mouth or The 33. What was the allure of taking on this story? I mean, it seems like it's perhaps taking from some of those old school action movies that we grew up watching, like Die Hard or Air Force One, but it's really brought into 2025 in terms of the politics of it, and there's also this streak of humour that goes through it. What did you want to do with the film?
Yes, of course, I'm a super big fan of Die Hard and of Air Force One and of The Fugitive and a few others like that. So it was a very intentional inspiration. Back in those days, those movies had really incredible characters that we fell in love with. And I feel that we haven't seen movies, a lot of action movies that are coming out, have great action, but we don't really care about the character so much. So it was very intentional to have that sort of feel of a movie that really captures you in terms of story and characters, but also has the big action. And I think people are responding very positively to it.
And of course, putting a female president right at the centre of it, no less Viola Davis. I mean, we already know she's a phenomenal actress. We've seen her do so many different things. Even in Woman Kings, saw her do a bit of action. But this is just kind of a new step forward for her, I feel, a new frontier. Did you have her in mind when you were thinking of this president, this character? And what was it like seeing her take on it and take on the role?
She was the first thing in the movie. Then I came. So my producer, Andrew Lazar, approached Viola to play this character. So when I was approached, it was like there's a movie, there's an action movie, and Viola Davis plays the president of the United States. I'm like, yay, I want that. So she really, truly is like the concept of the movie is Viola Davis playing the president in an action movie. And what does that mean? It means that not only you get the action, but you also get like a really in-depth performance, almost like if you were in an Oscar performance, but in a super fun popcorn movie. And Viola wanted, to make a movie in which she could just eat popcorn and watch and have fun and not have a heavy, which she does a lot of very heavy, dramatic things. She still goes there, which I love.
Well, I guess it's quite a multifaceted role because first and foremost, envisioning a world where we could have a female black president, leader of the free world, let's say. But then she also does have to lean really into these action sequences, the physicality of all of that. And then there's this family thread and also landing some of these brilliant one-liners. So it wasn't an easy task, but she really knocks it out of the park.
The movie is very complicated. It was very complicated to make because of what you're saying. Normally you have one thing, it's the action movie, or one thing, the comedy action movie. No, this had to have it all. And so really threading the personal story, because she has a personal story as a character of how she came to become the president and what kind of trauma she's dealing with and what kind of, she has imposter syndrome. And, so there's that thread. Then there's a family thread. She's fighting with her teenage daughter. They're in that moment in time in which they're, bumping heads, and how can she get that relationship back? And then there's the political part in which she has a mission as a president coming into the G20. So all of these different spinning plates are happening in the movie. At the same time, I wanted to make sure I had some comedy in it, because it's really good to break the tension with laughs. And I have a bunch of characters, of actors that are very funny, and they have the one-liners, as you say, that are they just crack up the audience. And then, of course, the action. And the action was very important because it is, after all, an action movie, and we want to service the action audience, so it's loaded with action.
Did you have a favorite scene to pull off with her in terms of maybe some of the stunts or?
Yes, I think of, of course, two scenes. The first one would be the elevator scene, and that was a really hard and fun scene to shoot because we're confined in an elevator space. There's 3 thugs plus her and her bodyguard. So that's 5 people. And then add 2 cameras in there with cameramen. Then it's like a whole troop inside an elevator. And then there's above and the below because they drop in and they go up. So that was a really fun scene to shoot. And then the finale with the helicopter. That was challenging. We shot in a stadium in Cape Town. And the moving part is that it's not a visual effects a helicopter. It's a real thing. You have to move it and spin it and drop it and everything. So that was also a challenging scene to shoot.
Coming to the rest of your cast, I mean, particularly Anthony Starr, I mean, what a villain. And I guess maybe channeling some of what we've seen of him playing Homelander. I don't know if that was something that was in your mind when you're sort of thinking of him taking on that role. Why was he the perfect villain for the movie?
You know what? He was introduced to me. We met on Zoom. And he was super charming, super nice. I really like him personally. And then I hadn't watched The Boys, but I watched a couple of episodes, and immediately I'm like, what an actor. I mean, the guy is really special. You just see how incredible he is as an actor immediately. And so I thought it was really, I just went for it. I thought it was, interesting to not have, maybe he's still kind of new and fresh. For the audience, and at the same time so seasoned, and he's such a good villain because he's very charismatic, he's sexy, he's very good looking on screen, and then he's so evil. He is so evil. So he's great. And he did a really good job with Viola. I mean, we played with those scenes. There's a very big, long conversation scene between them and how they went at it. And we improvised different things. And the stronger Anthony became, the stronger Viola had to react. They were really good at that.
And in terms of the takeaways, I mean, I guess first and foremost, this is just something, to go in, like you say, with your popcorn and just really enjoy watching. But, there is so much to connect to as well. I guess even though the stakes are really high and it's, the highest level of government, with all these global leaders, the fact that there is this thread of family, and her having to deal with, her teenage daughter, et cetera, also makes it very relatable and universal. So what do you hope people take away when watching it?
For me, it was important as a woman directing this movie that it has to have a little bit of in a way, the female point of view. So what's more universal than a teenage daughter bumping heads with her mother, the teenage daughter has no idea that the mother is the most powerful woman or what that means or what kind of stress she's under. She just, has her own thing. And I have a teenage daughter. Viola has a teenage daughter. We're both going through that exact phase right now. So that made it really fun. And I think universal for audiences to connect to, which I think makes the movie better. It's not just action, which is super fun to watch. It's caring about the characters that are in those moments of life or death.
And also the fact that it feels so international. And I guess because of the concept of it being all the leaders of all these big nations, was that something also to really relish in? And, maybe sometimes in the past we don't see enough of that and we don't see that, kind of multinationality in a film.
100%. First of all, the concept of G20 really called for it. So I really wanted to make sure we had the international representation of in the cast and in the point of view. So, we purposely cast our UK Prime Minister, our South Korean First Lady, and also gender, different age groups, to just really make it. The movie takes place in South Africa, for instance, and I wanted to make sure that South Africa was also represented. And one of the things about Amazon that is really cool is that the movie is going to open in 240 countries at the same time. And so how do you make a movie that's appealing to a whole world. And I thought it was very important to not make it so American-centric as we are usually we are used to see in Hollywood, and really let other countries, other nationalities shine. And so the audience will discover how all these other countries also shine in the story. Even though, of course, Viola is at its center, the American president is still at its center, there's a lot of good surprises from the rest of the cast.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for sharing all that with me. Huge congrats on an incredible film, and I can't wait for everyone else to see it.
Thank you. Thank you so much.